I'm just going to bang the Carson Beck drum for one moment.
You do whatever you like, sir.
I did make a post on Twitter comparing Carson Beck and Fernando Mendoza's career and best season stats. And the differentiator was I put for Mendoza, adorable, and I put for Beck, punchable. And I think that's the big difference.
Jax is notorious for banging punchable faces, though.
Back in college, for sure.
We've all driven a Honda Accord in our lives. And we will all ride an Emmett Johnson to a fantasy championship.
Are we still talking about cars? Because I feel like we're talking about...
I'm just glad no shots were fired at my Dodge Stratus. So
Lord knows the punchable faces drove just like Honda Accords when I was back in college.
Very reliable.
Yeah, they get you a long way on very little gas. Yeah.
It's all I could afford.
Could fit all your buddies in there.
After me.
Listen, we sell the Accords. We don't buy them used. We sell the Accords.
You ever get in a rental and it stinks?
Sights and sounds and edges found. You will now get down with the Underground. Post it up on the OTC Fantasy YouTube channel and find all of our content at otcffb.com. Thanks for joining. I am Trav, hosting and West Coasting as usual on the Underground. With me, spreading the wise words of Dino Game Theory, Jax Falcone. How's it going tonight, brother?
Hey, that's me. I'm here. I'm ready to go. Let's do it.
Yeah.
By the way, I was messing around with OTC FFB. Dude, so cool. So cool. I mean,
another great week.
My goodness.
Yeah.
It's just like I learn something new every week, and I feel like I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I've got this secret that everybody should know. I did the auction thing. It's crazy. It's all awesome. So anyway,
it is. And of course, the night of the pristine hard hat, one Joquavius Kuvatakis. How you doing, brother? In the throes of new fatherhood, getting those dynasty rookie drafts wrapped up and getting ready to get into the heat of the offseason. How goes, brother?
Well, honestly, I'm kind of mad at you guys. Before I was low res Joe, you guys made me get this nice camera, and all I can see right now is the bags under my eyes because I didn't sleep last night, and it's already late tonight. So I think I might go back to low res. And I think this is a prank you guys pulled on me.
Yep.
Absolutely not. We still think you look extra handsome, sir. We call you Big Bags Joe. That's kind of a dope nickname because it could mean other things other than bags under your eyes, right? So maybe we could go with that one, but we'll workshop some other nicknames.
We had his bag getting hurt last week when his stribling fell out. That was pretty good.
Right.
That was good.
Man, almost got the episode taken down off of YouTube because of that, boys. I have to be honest with you. We got to be careful talking about our striblings falling out, I tell you.
Yeah,
really? Okay. Note to self.
I need to be scribbling about it, but...
By the way, also, what did I say on? I went on CBS with Heath Cummings, and it was awesome. He's great, and I've been on there like four or five times, whatever. He's great. I love him. He's in the Dynasty Game Theory Invitational. Great dude, just an awesome human. And I go on there, and I always have to remember not to swear. And I said they have to get their shit together, and I was like, oh my. I apologize. And he looked at me like, fuck, except he didn't say fuck. He was just like, really? I'm like, and I thought I couldn't help but think
you always do it or something like that.
But I couldn't help but think to myself, where I come from, getting your shit together isn't swearing. That's just a term. That's just a term. Like,
just a colloquialism.
Yeah, your teacher could have said that to you and said, great, listen, get your shit together. Come on. And you'd be like, all right, let's do that.
All right, sorry. Yeah,
sorry. So anyway, my apologies to Heath and all the virgin ears on CBS.
That was a killer episode, man. And I was stoked about it because unsolicited, Heath centered the entire episode around the most traded players in our trade database. And so my heart was warm and fuzzy that day that Heath took the time to cruise around the tools. It's been a great week for the tools, man. The users are climbing. Really excited about that. Lots of cool features. You mentioned the auction feature, and you're not just talking about auction drafts, Jax. There's a new feature on there that you can only get through otcffb.com, where in your dynasty leagues, you can throw a player on the trade block. You can even put a note on there saying what you'd like to have for them. When you get an offer for them, you can press that you like that trade, and it will show in the league chat to everyone that you have liked a trade that came in for you. And then that can start a bidding war for whatever assets you're trying to trade. So
exactly
other
right.
teams can come in and try and outbid that trade to give you a better offer. And that is something that you can only find on OTCFFB.com.
Right. You're telling me that's not awesome?
That happened within like probably the last 24 hours of us recording right now. So we haven't even seen all of the cool applications yet, but it's going to be fun. I know it is. So go check it out, OTCFFB.com.
I want to give the listeners a peek behind the fourth wall. We're moving so fast that despite being one of the founding members of this company, Trav and Jax were talking about the auction feature. And I was like, so wait, what is it? I've been very busy IRL. And I just didn't even know that we had this feature. And then as soon as they told me, I was like, wait, that's the coolest thing. I've been begging for this for years. How do we keep producing the coolest products in fantasy football? So I'm just like, I can't wait to use it. I'm like, unfortunately, I have a few trades in my inbox that I don't like. So I'm going to ask you guys, can I say I don't like this trade and announce it to the league as well?
Well, you just favorite it and be like, look at this dog shit. You know what I mean? Give it the thumbs up, but then in, subtext, look at this idiot, Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Yeah. Anyways, I can't wait to use this tool. I've been, God.
Devious Joe.
Unreal.
Devious Joe's wheels are spinning. He's gonna get the fingers tapping like Mr. Burns pretty soon.
I love it.
Okay, boys. So yeah, lots of good stuff happening at the site. Go check it out, OTCFFB.com. And thanks for everybody who has already checked it out. We got a podcast to do though, boys. We have some stuff to talk about. And tonight we're going to be this feels like we're kind of rounding out rookie season right now, boys. And we're going to be planting these rookies into some of our dynasty tiers. And so we're still working through kind of like number for number where they sit, you know what I mean? But I think we can be happy with kind of the tiers of players that we have some of these notable rookies in. And we're going to talk about that as far as, upside, ceiling, maybe offensive ecosystem, all sorts of stuff, boys. So I'm excited to get into it. It's going to be a good time. We're going to start with the quarterbacks. Obviously, there is the big one at the top, Fernando Mendoza. Earlier in the process, I mentioned that Fernando Mendoza was going to be dangerously close to a top 12 fantasy quarterback or dynasty quarterback for me. I'm not there yet, guys. I have him a little bit behind. He's at my quarterback 27 with Cam Ward, Bryce Young, kind of Sam Darnold, Tyler Shuck area. What do you guys think about that as far as Fernando Mendoza's upside in kind of like I could see him up in the high 20s necessarily is what I'm saying, but I've got
Wait a minute. You're talking about a dynasty ranking for Fernando Mendoza?
Wait, am I on the wrong ones? Oh my God. I'm in my, yes, guys, this is, you know, what's funny. When I went to do this, I said to myself, oh, those are my redraft rankings. Pull up the dynasty ones. I must have pulled up the dynasty and went back to the redraft. Note to the listeners, I am working on my redraft rankings for the site. So maybe that's just a fun little drop there. But as I go to my dynasty rankings and find Fernando Mendoza after butchering the top of the show, I actually have him at 17, right behind CJ Stroud. Right in front of Sam Darnold. Sorry, boys. False alarm. Nothing to see here.
Wow. Okay. I was about to say we're going to start.
Thank you. Thank you for that check, because when I looked at it and I told you guys the number, I was like, what the like it felt like he was around the right guys. He was around the right guys, but he was at the wrong number. Thank you, Joe. What do you think about quarterback?
I just want people to know I tried hosting one time, and it's very difficult because you're thinking about so many things that you might not be thinking about what you're saying sometimes. And I was like, that's not right.
There's part of me that wants to restart that, but I think we just let it ride because our listeners are just such a part of the family,
they love you,
right?
They love you, Trav. They want to know you're human.
Thanks,
they want to know
guys.
you're human.
Yeah,
I've got Mendoza at 17 as well in the dynasty rankings. I've got him right ahead of CJ Stroud, who's right ahead of Sam Darnold. So we're basically in the same neighborhood. They're in the same tier for me. He's got room to obviously move up. I don't think we're ever really going to see him get to like top 4, top 5, but can he get into that top 12? Yes. Right now, I think tentatively you got to put some of the established vets in these high-powered offenses ahead of him until he proves that he's as good as advertised or as good as we hope.
So, Jax, I'm guessing you have him above 27.
Yeah. No, I mean, for me, yeah, right, exactly. QB 35. I think there's a couple of angles to look at this. Number one, I don't think he starts out the gate, so it's going to be a while till he proves or disproves himself. So as a dynasty asset, you could certainly say he's safer than some of even a Baker Mayfield. You know what I mean? Between now and a year and a half from now, I would think Fernando Mendoza is probably going to hold value. All that to say, though, I'd still much rather have some of these proven veterans over Fernando Mendoza. And on the flip side of that, he could go out there in the second half of the season and slay and all of a sudden be in the Bo Nix area, right? So like top 10, top 12, right? Justin Herbert, something like that. Like he could just be like, dude, he's awesome. So there's a lot of different ways for him to play out. And for that reason, I kind of have him somewhere in between there. I have him at quarterback 18 as well. The funny thing about the quarterbacks, if we look at like the hit rate of a top 10 even drafted quarterback in the NFL, it's like 50-50. It's like a coin flip. And so I hate that. I hate taking a coin flip at the 102, which is why I haven't done it yet. I have not drafted any Fernando Mendoza. I don't know. I'm trading out of that. I'm just finding alternative ways to leverage that pick. I've used the 102, and in one recent draft, I had the 102 and the 105. I think I traded the 102 back to the 104. Then I took the 104 and the 105, traded it for Ashton Genty. Okay, that's a good team that needed a stud player. I got one, and I don't know. Maybe that's a good trade. Maybe it's a bad trade. Obviously, if Fernando Mendoza hits and whoever Jordan Tyson, Mekhi Lemon, whatever the case, hits, then I lose that trade, I guess. But, at the end of the day, the 50-50 proposition of Fernando Mendoza, when you can leverage a top 3 or 4 dynasty pick in that range, is kind of where I'm at. So I put him in the 50-50 zone, which is, you could easily say Bryce Young is a better bet than him. So I could move him outside the top 20. Is Cam Ward a better bet than him? I think that's where it ends, right? I mean, I think Cam Ward is still on the 50-50 bet range, isn't he? What do you guys think about this little diatribe I went on?
Yeah, I've got Cam Ward. I think I've got Cam Ward behind him just because there are some indicators in his rookie year that he is not good. But then, he passes the sniff test. He passes the eye test. When you watch him play, you're like, this dude's actually pretty good. And he was just placed in a terrible situation. So I have Mendoza ahead of that, only to say that we haven't seen the downside of Mendoza yet. If it happens in year one, then he'll be in that same range, in the 21 to 25 range. And then he's still, but this is the quarterback insulation that that we always talk about, where it's like they get more than a year to prove themselves unless they completely fall flat on their face.
Yeah.
So, he's got enough time to, be insulated. You get to get a sample size of his play and then decide where you are. Like Cam Ward, I haven't sold any Cam Ward shares. We'll put it that way.
But put it this way too. I've got the group of quarterbacks I have: Baker Mayfield, CJ Stroud, Fernando Mendoza, Sam Darnold, Bryce Young, Cam Ward. All of those players were like top 3 draft picks. Most of them were 101s. Baker, Mendoza, Bryce Young, Cam Ward. Stroud was 2, Darnold was 3, like whatever. So you're talking about guys, and Baker and Darnold had to sort of get there on their second team, so the paths aren't always clean. I mean, you think about the path for CJ Stroud, great in his rookie year, a little questionable, but we still think he's good. Bryce Young, awful year 1, Cam Ward, awful year 1. So there's a lot to be sort of uncovered with Fernando Mendoza still.
So my question, I know we're talking about where rookies fit in our rankings, but I can't help but look at my rankings and ask you guys this question. Sorry to derail us at the beginning, but
dude, you can't derail us more than I did, brother. Carry on.
Who do you have higher, Shuck or Ward right now?
Shuck 1 spot ahead at 22, Ward at 23, and Jax
I've got
almost
them at
the same.
21, I've got them at 21, 22, and I have Ward ahead right now, but I feel like that's wrong. So I'm going to switch it now.
It's close enough. He just got an alpha wide receiver. And so I think those guys are close enough. And I actually have them in the same tier as those almost the exact same guys that you mentioned, the kind of the older producer guys, Jax. The difference for Mendoza for me versus those other two guys is that I think Mendoza as the 101 coming in with Kubiak as his play caller is significant to me. Coming in with Genty and Bowers is significant to me in that if Kubiak, and he likely will, have to make this offense super simple for Fernando Mendoza to operate, the two guys that are going to be the focal points are super elite. And so I think if it's dumbed down, he has opportunity for massive efficiency. And then if he's kind of let loose a little bit and there is efficiency on that, I think there's upside there. So that's kind of where Mendoza separates for me so far. But I think there's fluctuation within this tier over the next couple of years for him coming, no matter what.
There always is.
I mean, just like you said, like he's going to be 17 now. He'll be 21 halfway through the season. He'll be 16 at the end of the season. He'll come back to 22 early next. So it's a little bit of fluctuation there. I think we're all in the camp that he's not yet a top 12. We don't see top 5 upside in him, and that we'd have to see some really good signs for him to get up in that top 12.
Agreed.
So looking at these other guys, boys, Ty Simpson, Carson Beck, curious to see where you guys landed them, because I have them in a tier with JJ McCarthy, Michael Penix, and Shadur Sanders. So not a huge believer necessarily, but I do have Simpson and Beck back to back. And this kind of maybe speaks more to what I was saying in the rookie draft season, where I think you have to see these guys as very similar upside, with one not starting for potentially a couple of years, the other potentially getting some starts early and making you be able to sell off of him in Carson Beck. Now, I came off that in that I had a gap between them in the rookie draft, with Ty Simpson at the back of 1 and Carson Beck kind of towards that early second. But here I have them at 34 for Simpson and 35 for Beck. So what do you guys think of that tier and them as back end quarterback 3s for Dynasty?
Well, my tier is very different than yours, but our slots for these players are very similar. So I've got Ty Simpson at 33 and I have Beck at 36. So we're one off on each of those. My thing is I've got, 23 to 35 is one tier for me. This is just comprised of quarterbacks who either don't have much runway left, and that's why Stafford and Cousins and Aaron Rodgers are in, and Geno Smith are in this tier, or they're quarterbacks that they have a starting job, but I wouldn't be shocked at all if by like week 6 of the 26 season, they've lost their starting job. That's why Daniel Jones, Malik Willis, Kyler Murray, that's why they're all in it as well. And this is kind of, again, I feel like I give the spiel every time we talk about rankings. This is why I hate linear rankings, because obviously Malik Willis could be a top 10 quarterback in points per game this season, but his security is such, and the game that we play is such, that I have to rank him down here. Same thing with Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray could be the QB6 on the season easily. Get a new contract in Minnesota, and then it's a whole different ball game. But
back up to the top 15.
He could be top 10, top 12 easily. But he could easily just fall flat on his face and just be a backup for the rest of his career. Go play for the Las Vegas A's, right? Like that's those are both possibilities.
At least it wouldn't be a long fall. Wouldn't be a long fall if you fell on his face. So sorry to all the short kings out there.
That's a short kings joke. Good one too. Yeah, I'm not so sure. This is the hardest part for me to quote unquote rank, because when I'm ranking this, I'm not exactly sure, because then I sometimes will do the thing, well, would you trade, Ty Simpson for Tua? Right? No. Or would you trade Ty Simpson for Daniel Jones? Or would you trade Geno Smith to get Ty Simpson? Well,
in order to answer, it was no, yes.
So can I?
Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I do know what you're saying, and I'll tell you kind of how I do mine with my tiers, Joe, because it's similar to kind of how Joe was explaining it there, where I've got that group of guys kind of consecutively in my list. But I have a tier within that, right? Where I've got these guys who have like the starting job, but could see them flame out. So Jones, Murray, Malik Willis, Smith, Jacoby. I have Mac Jones in there because he could be getting a starting job in the next couple of years if a team needs somebody and wants to give him a shot. And then next to those guys, I have McCarthy, Penix, Sanders, Ty Simpson, and Beck. So for me, those tiers have a little bit of overlap. And we've talked about this on rankings shows before, where you got to see the tiers as a little bit of overlap, especially when you get this far down, because I'm tiering them based, like there's a little bit of tiering based on age there. And so for me, it would be very roster dependent if I want these 25 through 30 guys, or if I want the young guys that are 31 through 35. So there's a world where I could put those younger guys above, but I just like the production now versus what they might get in 2 to 3 years. So you got to think of it within the tiers. There's a little bit of overlap. It's not just kind of linear stacking them on top of each other is how I think of them.
Absolutely. And also on top of that, it's what kind of league is it? I'm in a 14 team start 12 Superflex league. Well, that's 28 quarterbacks if everybody's just got barely 2 to start. Well, that means that the 28th starting quarterback is actually pretty valuable. If you're in a 10-team Superflex league, well, it's just 20. Now I'm swinging upside. So after, the 20 or 23rd, excuse me, quarterback in the league, I'm basically ranking the rest of those quarterbacks like I would a 1 quarterback league, right? And in a 14 by 12, well, shoot, quarterbacks 20 through 30, Geno Smith is now valuable. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah,
he could be, he could be a difference maker at the back end of the quarterbacks that are starting in that league. So I think those are some of the things I'm thinking of when I'm ranking. It's like, well, what team, what league, what situation am I dealing with? Like, I'm not trading Matt Stafford away and getting Ty Simpson on a team that's trying to compete and win. Like, so I have Stafford way ahead of Ty Simpson in that regard. But in a 10-team league where maybe I'm like, I've got Lamar and, Dart and Bo Nix, it's like, well, I don't need Stafford. Yeah, sure. I'll trade him away and take Ty Simpson. At least I've got more runway and I don't need, so it's all not only team dependent, Trav, but also that sort of, what kind of league are you in and things like that. That's kind of what I'm getting at here. So I guess the long and short of it for me is like Ty Simpson, I guess I would just say, what kind of bet is he? Who is he most similar to? I mean, I have him back to back with JJ McCarthy in my top 30 because, once you get back there, I don't really need Geno. I have him ahead of Geno and Jacoby Brissett and Aaron Rodgers, because those guys are, I mean, what am I getting? A season out of them? Once you're past the top 24, I'm looking at upside and longevity more than I'm looking at 1 year of performance, if that makes sense.
Exactly. Joe, real quick, if you want to finish these quarterbacks off, that's totally fine. But Jax, as you were mentioning that kind of league setting specificity, just another edge you can find at otcffb.com. Because if you look at the Dynasty Helper values, those are kind of our trade market values. Those are actually adjusted based on each of your league's scoring settings. So if you go in, put in your sleeper handle, it pulls in all of your leagues, and those Dynasty Helper values are different in each of your leagues based on those scoring settings. And so that's something that we think is pretty unique as well. So just, Jax, I wanted to give that shameless plug as you were mentioning how important that is to pull that out as something that we offer at the site. And then Joe, if you have any final thoughts on these quarterbacks before I move us into the running backs.
No, I think that was all well put. I guess I'm vaguely interested in Allar. Just because of the athleticism, and he's going to have a year to sit. So especially in such a bad class where you were able to get him in the 4th and 5th round consistently, I think I'd probably put him somewhere in like the late 30s, early 40s as just, he's a poor man's Jalen Milroe, if that makes sense, right? It's just like, I'm going to have this wild card on my taxi squad. So I would kind of, I don't know. I don't have a strong take aside from it's worth the bet.
Yeah, kind of in that like Riley Howard, Quinn Ewers type phylum, maybe
Riley Leonard. Yeah.
Riley Leonard. Yeah. What did I say?
Riley Howard.
Yeah,
Riley
that's
Howard.
the
sounds like a
Howard
football
guy,
player.
Interesting. Yeah. Oh, because I'm looking at Will Howard's name. That's why.
Okay,
Did you guys see that? that Mike McCarthy is trying to like wipe everything that Drew Allar learned at Penn State and teach him everything new. Did you see that? It's kind of
I did.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So
look, I'm just gonna bang the Carson Beck drum for one moment. I did
you do whatever you like, sir.
I did make a post on Twitter comparing Carson Beck and Fernando Mendoza's career and best season stats, and bro, they are crazily similar. And of course, the differentiator was I put for Mendoza adorable, and I put for Beck punchable, and I think that's the big difference.
Might be. How was the comments on that post, brother?
I don't know. You should look at them. I don't ever look at comments. Sorry, I've given up.
Jax is notorious for banging punchable faces, though.
Yeah, he's
back in college for sure.
And before we get into these running backs, we are just gonna give a couple messages from our sponsors. Be right back after this. And we are back on Dynasty Underground. Thanks for sticking around with us. We got through the quarterbacks. We're going to talk about these running backs and where they fit within our Dynasty running back tiers. Guys, obviously Jeremiyah Love is the top rookie running back. And for me, in my Dynasty rankings, there's a clear tier at the top of running back as well, with Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs sitting as a tandem. How close to that tandem would you guys say Jeremiyah Love is, or is he in that group with you?
So,
Joe,
I would say that there is the next tier, and that is made up of two more players that we hope become Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs, and that's Ashton Jeanty and Jeremiyah Love. And I have to put Love ahead of Jeanty just because, despite circumstance being horrendous for Jeanty, it's the same thing we just talked about with Cam Ward versus Fernando Mendoza. We haven't seen Love fail yet. We saw Ward fail pretty epically, but he's still holding value because we believe in the talent. And that's even more so at the running back position because it's the most situation dependent position as far as fantasy football is concerned. So there's a lot more forgiveness for bad situations, bad O-line play, etc. But those two are clearly 3 and 4 for me in the dynasty ranks. What do you think, Jax?
Yeah, totally. And I had the conversation with Theo Greminger this week on Undrafted. I asked him that question because I was like, here we go. We have like this top 5 for sure dynasty running backs in Jeremiyah Love and Ashton Jeanty. And are we okay with their offenses? Like, I actually am okay with Jeremiyah Love's offense. I actually kind of like it a little bit. And he mentioned that if Carson Beck gets in the game, then all of a sudden that offense goes down. I would just say, I think Steve Buscemi would make a great quarterback. So I don't think we have any issue with, Nookie Thompson back there calling plays.
Think of the vision with those googly eyes that he's got looking both directions with the Adam Sandler cameo.
Yeah.
Oh man, he would have incredible field vision out there for one Jeremiyah Love. Yeah,
should we call him Donnie Beck? Beck from here on out,
or just call him Steve. Just call him Steve.
Carson Buscemi.
Carson Buscemi. That's it. I think that's it. Beck Shemi.
I don't know. I like Nookie Beck. It just flows better. I like the idea of him as kind of a shot caller.
Yeah, Nookie.
So Nookie Beck. But whenever he messes up, we have to find a way to say, "Damn it, Donnie."
Shut the fuck up, Donnie.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I just want to like his center just turning around being like, "Shut the," he's calling plays.
That's great. That is great. We need to get a line in with the Cardinals center ASAP.
Yeah, so just like completely pissed off. This guy's calling plays. Just shut the fuck up, Donnie. This is the guy. This is the guy. So back to my analysis of the Arizona offense. Yeah,
I think to both offenses for Jeanty and Jeremiyah Love. I'm okay with Genty's too. And actually I have Jeanty one spot above Jeremiyah Love, Joe, in the same 3-4 position. So I tried to play it coy leading in with that top tier, but we all have them kind of in the same spots. I have Jeanty above because his offense is going to get so much better this year with Clint Kubiak. And like, I think if it was still Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly in there, it would definitely be Love Genty, but I am very bullish on Clint Kubiak and Clint Kubiak running backs. Not to say I'm not for LaFleur running backs, because LaFleur comes from that McVay scheme as the new head coach in Arizona. I just think that there's a lot of wide receiver predication there as well, whereas Kubiak is a very running back centric play caller. And so that's why I think the differentiator has Genty above, but same tier. So no real differentiator, and, you know, great running backs all around.
I think at the end of the day, I also think Jeremiyah Love's a better overall prospect, although super close. All these things are super close. Mm-hmm. The offense is super close, because here's the thing with the offense too. It's like, yeah, maybe it's, you know, maybe it's Fernando Mendoza's awesome and Carson Beck sucks, or maybe it's Kirk Cousins is a mess and Fernando Mendoza can't get ready quick enough, and, you know, Jacoby Brissett's launching shit all over the place like he was. Like we don't exactly know how that's all going to play out. We're just sort of projecting them to not be that good, which is a pretty fair bet that neither team is going to be, you know, run the gauntlet, you know, and win a bunch of games and score a bunch of touchdowns. So touchdown upside is limited, but I think both of them catch passes. I mean, Genty, what did he have, like 60 something targets last year? You know, not too shabby. I thought his ADOT was like over a yard behind the line of scrimmage. So not very creative. Hopefully that gets a little bit more creative. I'm not that confident, but I think in Arizona, Jeremiyah Love could be just an absolute beast. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a little, you know, black box. It could be a boat type stuff here, you know, but I really think Jeremiyah Love's going to come out the gate and be awesome.
I agree. In terms of the two prospects, just as prospects, it's hard to compare them just because of the Boise, you know, State thing versus the Notre Dame thing, which is not even in a conference, but level of competition obviously comes into play.
Yeah.
And so this was always the issue with Genty. It's like, how do we actually rate this guy? But then he showed us those explosion games despite a really rough rookie season where the team struggled so much. But we saw the ceiling unfold in certain games, in certain scripts against certain defenses. And there's no reason to believe. Yeah. So there's no reason to believe that that's not there for him.
Agree.
I think the reason I have Love ahead, even though I'm a Raiders fan and I love Genty, is just because I have a higher degree of certainty in, you know, Love's pedigree than I do in Genty's. And I do think that he's a more natural receiver. I think Genty is a good receiver, especially for running backs. But when you watch Love catch the ball, it's kind of different, right?
Yeah,
where it's just like, fair. Oh, dude, this guy, yeah, it's not Christian McCaffrey level, but it's a tier above most running backs. It's in that,
Bijan.
Let's say Breece Hall range, Bijan Robinson range, right? We're just like, oh, this dude's a dope receiver, right? Where Genty's like, this dude's a good enough receiver, and with his running skills, it's ridiculous.
Yes, I agree. That's right. I think that's right.
You guys will be happy to know that I am not the highest in the Fantasy Pros expert consensus on Jadarian Price. I'm not. I promise. I just a second ago. I'm not.
Oh no, you're just the highest.
Yeah. Sorry, just the highest. Period. Yes. But I am fairly high on him, boys. I have Jadarian Price as my running back 20 in Dynasty. I have him behind Travis Etienne, Chase Brown, Cam Scatabo in that tier with those guys. I have been high on Jadarian Price. I think he's a good player, can catch passes. So I don't think this is necessarily a huge surprise to you guys, but I'm curious to see kind of what tier of players you have him in. Jax.
Yeah, I have him in at running back 21. I have him with
sick.
Yeah, I have him ahead of Bhayshul Tuten and Kyron Williams and, you know, that type of stuff. I mean, ahead of DeAndre Swift, right? I mean, at some point it's like, you know, those guys are just, but I have him behind like Chase Brown, you know? I mean, Chase Brown has been dope. Like, and he's kind of locked in as the, you know, RB1 in Cincinnati, which is a great role. We just haven't seen it from Jadarian Price. We don't exactly know the role. So yeah, I think he'll be fine. Like I have him right behind Javonte. I think that's about right. I mean, if you tell me you have him ahead of Javonte Williams, that's fair. I mean, I think that's fair. I think Javonte was one of those, you know, backs that you could have bought for late first this offseason, which was probably a pretty good buy considering, right? So I think that's about right. Yeah, I mean, maybe even move him ahead of Saquon, but you know, it's getting a little weird if I do that. I don't know, you know, but in that ballpark.
Yeah, I'm not there.
I can't let that happen.
Me neither.
I've got him in the same neighborhood. Again, this is just a question of tiers, but I've got him behind Kyron and actually behind Corum. And I think the reason for that is because I've grouped Corum and Kyron together because I'm not really sure how this unfolds. And so I did the cowardly thing and just grouped them together. I'm like, one or both of these guys are flex plays that are
I got some of those spots in my rankings too, my man.
I've got them back to back too, just behind Jadarian. So very similar.
Yeah. And so he's right behind Corum for me, right ahead of Montgomery, because we're talking Dynasty rankings, right ahead of Javonte because of Dynasty rankings, right ahead of Swift for the same reason. But so he's sitting at 24 for me, which feels right. He is a starting running back in the NFL, presumably. That actually might be a projection if we're being honest, but he's well behind Tuten for me, and this is probably a different conversation. I've got Tuten just probably way higher than you guys.
Where do you have Tuten? No, that's not a question. No, that's a topic for right now.
I was actually thinking that I was high on Tuten. Joe, say it.
I've got him at 19, and I feel like I'm low.
I got him at 15.
How do you beat me on my guys every time? This is the Nick Singleton thing all over again. It's
I've got him.
Who's my guy?
I've got him with Bucky Irving and TreVeyon Henderson. I think he has that type of ceiling in this offense.
I have him in that tier.
Chris Rodriguez being a threat to Bhayshul Tuten's ultimate upside is a joke to me.
Yeah.
It's a joke to me.
So that tier for me is Scadaboo, Henderson, Irving, Walker, Tuten, and Etienne. They're all in a tier for me. That's my fifth tier of running back. And honestly, I could make an argument to push some of those guys ahead of the tier 4 guys where, Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs live. Yeah. They're there for production, but not for long-term dynasty value. But I actually, here's my dirty little secret. I kind of want to push Bucky Irving to the bottom of this tier and maybe even to the top of the next tier because I'm super worried about Bucky, guys. I know
the signs aren't good.
I've said this before. They're saying he's, still recovering from his shoulder injury. We had long discussions on this podcast about his very cryptic Instagram post. He came back. He looked okay, but all those things that we liked about him are still there. Maybe, we hope, after this injury, but the lack of athleticism and the lack of size is also still there. And the cream kind of rises to the top, and the concerns always resurface with the dudes we were worried about for certain reasons. He proved us wrong early in his career, but I kind of want to move him down. I'm not ready to do it yet, but anyways, I've got Tuten in that tier.
Toot.
Yeah, I think
I just moved them ahead of Bucky Irving, by the way.
Wow.
Just moved Tuten ahead of Bucky Irving.
I don't know. Yeah, that's crazy. I just think we haven't seen anything from Tuten, right? We just have no proof that that's going to be the way that they play it. They could absolutely just I agree that Chris Rodriguez isn't going to be the bell cow and Tuten is nothing. I disagree with that. But I do think it's possible that it's more of a three-headed monster. LaQuint Allen has a pass down weapon and Chris Rodriguez gets, 8 to 10 annoyingly, steady carries. And then Bhayshul Tuten is just not a voluminous enough, running back to actually get where we need him to get. Meanwhile, Bucky Irving, still might be the number one trusted back in Tampa Bay. I don't see where that's just going to go away because Kenny Gainwell's there. I just don't see that. So
Sean Tucker is also there and also, was the goal line back last year. So it's he's losing receptions and he's losing goal line work. That's why we're burning the candle on both ends with those two things, loss of receptions and loss of, inside the 5 carries. That makes it a little bit concerning. So it's a projection for sure.
So with
Jax, where do you have Henderson versus Tuten?
Henderson ahead.
Yeah. So with him having Ramondre in front of him and losing some of those carries too, it's a fairly similar situation.
Yeah, he had Ramondre ahead of him last year. He had 1,000 yards. I'm not too worried about TreVeyon Henderson. I've got TreVeyon. So I've got the tier 3, I guess is what it would be. It's kind of a basically running backs 5 through 11 and TreVeyon's there. And then I've got, tier 4, which is 12 through 19. And that's where, I've got a lot of different types of players, but I think Chase Brown's got to move up. you got to have Chase Brown over Bucky Irving then, don't you?
Oh, I have Chase Brown at number 10.
Okay.
Yeah, no, Chase Brown has survived 2 off seasons in a row. I don't think the Bengals could be telling us any more loudly that they believe in Chase Brown. I have him right behind Omari and Hampton.
Yeah, I just bumped Chase Brown up a little bit because I agree with that. I actually have, yeah. So he's at 14 for me.
Wow.
Look at us. We always do this. This is great. Jax, I just wanted to point out that you were so gentle the way you led into your disagreement with our Bhayshul Tuten take. By the way, you were like, oh, well, that's crazy. It was so nice. Thank you.
Yeah, as far as last year's rookies go,
about it.
I've got Scadaboo at 15, Henderson at 16, and Tuten at 17. And I don't think you can change my mind on that order.
I got Scadaboo a little further back at 18. Behind racist. Henderson, Tuten. It's racist. Yeah, sure.
I've got Scadaboo at 12. Eat it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I think these are conversations maybe for another Dynasty Rankings show, because we are talking about the rookies here, boys. I am going to move us right in. Well, I guess we got Jonah Coleman. Do we want to talk about Jonah?
Yeah, we got to talk about Coleman and we got to talk about Coleman and
Singleton. Okay, so Jonah Coleman as
Heidenreich.
We're not getting into fucking Heidenreich tonight, Joe. Don't you one more thing us to Heidenreich. Don't you dare.
I've got
big trouble, sir.
I've got Kenny Gainwell at 39, so Heidenreich at 38, obviously. No, I'm joking.
I've got Gainwell at 39 too. Perfect.
Eli Heidenreich will permanently be ranked 69 for me. He's just a permanent 69 for me.
Nice.
Great idea.
Okay, so we're talking about Jonah Coleman here. Jonah Coleman. Ooh, Jax, why don't you talk about where you got him? Because
I put him right around 31, 32. Jonah Coleman and Nick Singleton back to back, right around 32. And this is where you kind of get a big tier of some starters like Tony Pollard. Like, do you really want to have Tony Pollard ahead of either of those guys? I don't think so. You're not trading the 201 or the 202 even in this class for Tony Pollard. I think that you have to necessarily rank him ahead of those guys, even though, if you were asking me to bet whether who's going to score more fantasy points this year, got to take Tony Pollard over maybe both those guys combined. It's like kind of crazy, but at some point or another, these guys are either going to come to fruition or fizzle away. But the investment cost has to be somewhat factored in here. But I mean, can you really have him ahead of players like Ramondre and Chuba Hubbard and David Montgomery even? I don't think you can. I mean, it's hard for me to make that case because those guys are for sure going to score fantasy points this year. What are your thoughts?
You actually just nailed the zone that I've got them in. I've got Coleman and Singleton at 34 and 35, right behind Chuba and right ahead of Charbonnet. And actually, I just realized I have Tyrone Tracy over them, which is wrong.
Yep.
So I'm going to move him down to the next tier. Yeah, I got to move him down to the next tier. That's not correct. But so then I'm sticking with, so this tier is Dobbins, Warren, Harvey, Monangai, Hubbard, Coleman, Singleton, Charbonnet, Dowdle, Mason, Brooks, Gainwell, and Woody Marks.
And you can get Woody Marks out of there too.
I don't know. I feel like I've moved Woody down far enough.
Well, as evidenced by my rankings, there is more room to move him down.
I am much, much lower on both of these guys than you are. Actually taking a peek at their dynasty rankings. You guys are very close to the top of rankers for those two guys. Not exactly at the top. I'm kind of more in the middle. I have, if we look at Jonah Coleman, I have Jonah Coleman at running back 43. I think there's no sure bet there that I would put him in my top 36 running backs. You know what I mean? I've got him in like the Dylan Sampson, Tank Bigsby, Ray Davis type of area more so for me. I think he's a high-end backup. He's going to get some work, going to get some production potentially, but I don't think he's a sure thing for much long-term. Maybe short-term he is better than long-term, but I'm not really necessarily sold on that. And I got Singleton just because of some of the hurdles and some of the injury concern and then some of the draft capital for these guys. Singleton's at 56 right now. Well, I'm willing to move him up for sure. But I just think that like top 36 is a pretty confident bet. And I'm just not confident in these guys at all.
Well, the thing about both Coleman and Singleton is this. They're both two-way goes, right? Both of them, if, for Coleman, if Dobbins or Harvey gets hurt, his role expands drastically. And they're both going to be in committee backfields regardless, but their share of that committee could grow drastically depending on what happens in front of them. And I think that's true of Singleton too. I think Singleton started off as a kick returner, but I think if Spears or Pollard go down, or, the speculation that Pollard gets traded, right? He's got so much room to grow. Both of them have so much room to grow. Mm-hmm. Both of them have pass catching chops that this is, yes, it is absolutely a projection to get them in this,
of course,
top 36 range. But the outs are so obviously there by contract, by injury. There's so many ways that they're very easily here next year. And so I'm just ripping the Band-Aid off and putting them there.
For sure. I think there's just so many ways they're nothing though. And I think that we're not sure that even if these guys, so if either of these teams get to a point where they're relying on these guys in the next year or two, they're probably bringing in other bodies to take carries. And so I don't think that they're going to get to a situation where they're ready to rely on either of these two guys. And I think with young quarterbacks in what they hope to be ascending teams, I think these are teams that are going to be looking to replace these like 5th round running backs pretty quickly to get that stud in there to take them to a championship. So I think I'm projecting that they're not going to be able to hold on to any role that they get for very long. And I think that's probably the safer bet on guys that are drafted in this area for running backs than not, right?
I would look at it entirely different. I think that you have to look into the future and say, okay, what are the ranges of outcomes? And yes, the range of outcome is nothing. That's always in the range of outcome for all these running backs. As a matter of fact, Devin Neal, Kendre Miller, Dylan Sampson, Ray Davis, like I could go on and on, Ollie Gordon, Trey Benson, right? There's a million of these guys that we liked, that we drafted in the 2nd round that don't do shit. Well, I'm not going to draft the next two. I'm not going to rank the next two, Jonah Coleman and Nick Singleton, behind those guys. We already know those guys are basically relegated. There is an upside play to these guys that still exists, that where you're like, oh shit, this is actually a guy. And they're basically handcuffs. Like I actually have, and this is just the way it is, man. I have Jonah Coleman ahead of RJ Harvey because I'd seen RJ Harvey in the NFL. I know what his utility is. There's very, very little likelihood that he is going to be a 3-down workhorse. They literally drafted Jonah Coleman and said, we need him for his pass blocking. They weren't asked a question. They were just like, that's what he's going to do. And so I think this is a real squeeze on RJ Harvey. I think Jonah Coleman is looked at as a more refined pro. I think he's going to get in there and literally steal his lunch. Now, might that not happen? Of course. It could be fucking he doesn't play at all. Of course that's possible. But the idea that Jonah Coleman can't elevate, or that Nick Singleton can't elevate in Tennessee, especially with a new coaching staff and front office situation in Tennessee. There's all new, new everybody.
No.
They're gonna want to play their guy.
I'm giving them room to elevate, right? I think to rank them there right now without seeing anything is just something I'm not ready to do. And there's probably like a ranking philosophy thing in here too. You know what I mean? Because I'm looking at like, a little bit more player take as opposed to where you come at it from.
No, I'm going to give you this. If you want them in a startup, Jonah Coleman's ADP is 31 and running back 31, and Nick Singleton is like 37. So If you're ahead of that or behind that, you don't even have to, you could just rank them at 38 and you're not going to get them. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like,
for sure.
And so, I think I'm okay drafting these guys at value. And when I look back and I say, okay, here's where I've got them, and then I look at ADP, I'm like, okay, I'm okay with that. Sometimes you just have to say, this guy I like. I'm not in love with these guys. I just took them back to back at picks 13 and 14 in the Dynasty Game Theory Invitational. And by the way, I was like, this sucks. I'm taking 2 running backs that basically I could end up with absolutely 0 at the very end of a 14-team league first round. Like, this is awful. I should be drafting a better player here, but unfortunately, that's what you got. And I think, I wouldn't trade those picks for Ray Davis and Devin Neal. I'm taking Singleton and Jonah Coleman all day ahead of those guys. So for me, no question about it, way ahead of those guys. Yeah.
One, that's awesome. Do you use startup ADP to influence your rankings?
No.
Okay. Neither do I, but I think that's cool that that's roughly where they land, because I literally look at it and I'm like, would I rather have this guy or this guy? And I do that all the way down the line, which is such a tedious and miserable task. And this is why I'm always behind you guys on getting my rankings updated. And this is why I hate rankings so much, because it's so damn monotonous and boring.
And then you have this conversation and it all changes. Yeah.
But I'm really glad you brought up the RJ Harvey point, because I thought this through a lot. And the reason I thought it through a lot is because I have a lot of RJ Harvey.
Yeah.
So my take is this. Dobbins is, again, for the Broncos, a 1-year rental. I already said I think Jonah Coleman's the 2-way go if Dobbins goes down, pretty likely, sadly, or if Harvey goes down, because of his pass catching. I think that he's got just the ability to fill both roles.
Right.
And they also saw what they had in RJ Harvey last year down the stretch and knew that they needed an alternative option in the event that, they needed to run the ball down a team's throat. They needed somebody to do it instead of somebody who would bounce it outside. That being said, a year from now, Dobbins is probably not on the team, and it's just Coleman and Harvey at that point. So I actually think, weirdly, although the pick is a shot across the bow for RJ Harvey, I actually think he's kind of isolated in his role as the explosive guy that catches passes.
Yep.
Which is why I didn't move him down. I moved him down a little, but not as much as I initially thought I was going to, because he's weirdly got a 2-way go too, where it's like next year, guess what? He's still back in the same role, even if Coleman eats his lunch this year.
Yep.
Nope, unless they bring in a stud. Unless they try and bring in an absolute.
It's always a risk. It's always a risk.
Always a risk, yeah. And there's going to be a lot of studs. So, but here's the thing. They're going to eat a lot of people's lunches, not just these 2 jerk-offs. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of guys are going to be like, oh, shit, I don't have a job anymore. Like, if Chicago drafts a stud, you think Monungai is going to be,
no,
he's
but
dead too.
Swift
and Monungai are dead, right? So, I mean, to the point that, I have Swift and Monungai in the same, head slightly here, but it's like, they're all kind of dead in this zone, So, yeah. Bhayshul Tuten.
Real quick. I know we said we weren't going to go this deep, but let's just
we got to get off the running backs, Joe.
No. Where do you guys have Emmett Johnson? I need to know where you have Emmett Johnson.
He's in the 70s for me.
No, he's not.
What? Trav, are you looking at your redraft rankings?
You guys are way too confident in Emmett Johnson. I've said that from the start.
He's the backup.
That might be. You're too confident that they're bringing some. Kareem Hunt is coming back there to be the backup. They are not going into the season with Emmett Johnson as the only backup to Kenneth Walker. There is no way that's happening.
Still got Brashard Smith.
There's no way, but they're not going in with either of those 2 guys as the only backup to Kenneth Walker. There is no chance. I'm calling it right now.
Jax,
somebody else
you have Emmett
is
Johnson
getting added off the scrap heap, and carry on.
You're probably right. This is probably going to be a hashtag Trav was right, but Jax,
the 70s might have been a little crazy, but let me carry on, Jax.
I haven't placed him yet, but I'm gonna look at it right now. I would say that you have to have him in the next tier, in that 40s, where you've got people like
wow.
Yeah.
I've got him at
41. Not a win. Like, that is
I've got him at 41.
Crazy.
I have him at 41, right ahead of Kamani Vidal, Devin Neal, Tyrone Tracy, Ollie Gordon, and JCM/Bill.
Yes, that's correct. Nuts. That's the tier.
I have him in the 60s. I have him in the 60s, and I'm not moving him.
Yeah, you don't have to, but that's not correct. Because here's the thing too: we don't know.
So crazy.
It's not crazy.
It's crazy. Not crazy.
Why is it crazy?
Because it's to me, it's not a dissimilar bet to what Brashard Smith was last year. You know what I mean? We thought he was going to the hype on Brashard Smith was fucking hot last year, and there was no Kenneth Walker. It was Isaiah Pacheco. And so this to me is them re-rolling Brashard Smith a little bit, and he was nothing. So I'm not ready to put him in as a flex worthy, top 48 running back.
Emmett Johnson, ADP, RB 44.
That's fine. Right, that's fine.
So I think that's well, of course it could be a mistake, but it can't be a big one. It can't be a big one because everything past that running back, if you go to your running back 70, I guess, or whatever, and you start naming running backs.
Brashard Smith's ADP this time last year.
I don't think he was RB 44. Yeah, I don't think so.
You finish. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have cut you off.
Yeah, I'm just saying there's 20 or 30 backs once you're at RB 70 that there's absolutely no chance you should ever be drafting them ahead of Emmett Johnson. There's just no world where that's the case. No way.
Why do you think Emmett Johnson is crazy in the 40s, Trav? Is I guess my question. So, we always make the Family Guy analogy of it could be a boat, right? It could be anything. It could even be a boat, right? So he's the mystery box that's the downside is a Honda Accord, right? Or it's he could be anything or a Honda Accord. And everybody I have below him is a Honda Accord. So I'm saying he could be anything. It's the opposite of it could be a boat, except for everything that he could be is above the Honda Accord, if that makes any sense at all. It's the flip side of that argument. That's why I have him where he is, because of the he could be anything part, and his worst case is still around the same range that we have everybody below him at. Does that make sense?
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. And it's fine. It's good for us to disagree, right? And I think for me, I guess I just have right off clunker below Honda Accord maybe. And I think that is in his range of outcomes. So it's fine. I'm not hating too bad.
In all seriousness, apologies to the Honda Accord owners. I think they're great vehicles, and that's why I love Emmett Johnson. So just, Honda Accords are great. We've all driven a Honda Accord in our lives. So, and we will all ride an Emmett Johnson to a fantasy championship.
Are we still talking about cars? Because I feel like we're talking
I'm just glad no shots were fired at my Dodge Stratus. So
Lord knows the punchable faces drove just like Honda Accords when I was back in college.
Very reliable. Reliable.
Gets you a long way on not very much gas. Yeah, they get you a long way on very little gas.
All I could afford.
Could fit all your buddies in there.
After me.
So, after you.
Listen, we sell the Accords. We don't buy them used. We sell the Accords.
It's a rental, really, is what I'm saying.
Oh man, okay. So
you're getting a rental and it stinks. You know what I mean? You never know what's happened back in that. All right. Anyway, Emmett Johnson.
I'm gonna have to make the call, boys, that we're gonna cut the piss off.
Yeah,
we're gonna do the wide receivers and the tight ends next week because I feel like they deserve to get their just due. That's kind of the meat and potatoes of what we want to talk about and get into where they fit, what upside they have. So we will get there, boys.
You know what, too, though, Trav?
Yeah.
We went off on tangents and all over the place and arguments and jokes. And you know what? I think the people loved it.
I think so too. I think that's part of the charm of the Dynasty Underground, or so people have told us. And so if that's the case, leave us a comment and let us know. If you think we're just a bunch of big dumb idiots, leave us a comment and let us know. But just know that we also think that about ourselves, so we have no problem with it.
One more thing.
I was waiting for that.
If we're cutting it off, Eli Heidenreich's in the 50s.
Oh no.
Period.
Wherever you have Kenny Gainwell, just right there. That's where you want him.
Yeah. No, I'm just gonna. He's got a permanent spot at running back 69 for me, so he'll never move. He could be the running back 3 in 2026, and he'll still be the running back. Should that be
our little secret? Should we all just put Heidenreich at running back 69 just for the listeners of the podcast, and you just know what that actually means?
Wink, wink,
totally.
Baby.
Totally. Check our Dynasty rankings at otcffb.com by the time you listen to this and see if we've made that change there. All sorts of other good stuff at otcffb.com. We talked about lots of it on the show. Go cruise it yourself. We want people to get their hands on it and get in there. Enjoy the ecosystem. Let us know what you think about it. So for Jax Falcone, for Joe Quavius Kuvatakis, I'm Trav. We'll see you next week. Peace.